Was there ever a time when the relationship was good?
No. And I think that should have been my first red flag. But again, I didn't know better because I had no real good examples of any of this.
Yeah.
I had seen many relationships that existed in the same way, in this sort of neutral bad, if I had to put any word to this, that these were neutral bad relationships. And but there was never a time when it was ever good.
You're listening to Real Love, Real Stories, a podcast to share, learn, and thrive in love. So no matter where you are on the love continuum, this is the place to be. My name is Kanu and I'm the host. So let me start by saying, if you are in a relationship with someone who is constantly demeaning you, who constantly accuses you, shames you, or blames you, or belittles your efforts in anything you do, and is constantly verbally abusing you, please get help. And the guest chair today is a woman who was brave to share her story, but she asked that I keep her identity anonymous. Let's dive right in.
My entire relationship in itself, I am still in a marriage, but the marriage is a very bad one. So there comes with that. And in the beginning, you're not even aware of some of the things that are happening to you and the kind of damage it does. And I've been through that where there was a lot of emotional abuse. And right now, I think I'm at a point where I am sort of grieving that past when I think, again, it's very naive, and you're younger, you sort of exist in that naive mindset. And yes, you do go through ups and downs in marriages. That's a normal part of it. But you never really expect how bad it can get and how dark it can get. And only you come out through on the other side that you see the kind of pain that you've been through. And it does fill you with a lot of grief that you spent that much time in that kind of pain.
Can I ask for permission to ask open questions, and then you tell me if you're comfortable answering them or not?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. So you said that you're in a really bad marriage. May I ask, first of all, was it, I don't know the culture in terms of like, is it an arranged sort of marriage, or is it a marriage that you got in willingly?
Again, it's a popular term, arranged, but I think most people sort of confuse it with what actually happens in the culture I come from. I was not in an arranged marriage. It was a sort of a matchmaking system. So I willingly chose my husband. Okay. It's not the same sort of concept that, you sort of get in a relationship and then get married. It wasn't like that. It's a simple matchmaking system.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And so if then it is that bad, may I ask why you're in it still?
It's because unfortunately, when I was growing up, it was the kind of marriage that I had seen with other members in my family. We did not have very good examples of what good marriages were supposed to be like. We really didn't. And you always feel that there's something off, even when I wasn't married, but you're just not sure what is off, what is wrong with those marriages. You just know that there's something off. And I think I was hoping that it would be different for me, but because I had other siblings that were married, happily married, and you're just hoping that it's not something that will repeat with yourself. And in the beginning, and you're also fed the narrative that you should do whatever you can to make it work, that sort of thing. but you're never told a limit of how far you should go to make it work. That
Right.
you're not expected to to sacrifice everything, including a lot of dignity and self-respect.
Yeah.
So,
how long have you been in this marriage?
about 13 years.
13 years.
And the thing is, the reason I'm still here is because before I got married, I was working, but when I moved to the US, I lost all my financial independence. And I haven't been able to find a job, but now I'm slowly working things out and trying to make myself as financially independent as possible.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned that you're working on this grief of this relationship. Can you tell me, like, what are some of the things that you're doing to grieve
I think
something that you're... Oh, go ahead.
Confronting that grief is one of the biggest challenges because it is coming to terms with the reality that you existed in something bad. It's a very hard thing to do because you really hope, not hope, but somewhere is the fantasy still there that it was okay when it was not okay. But you do have to step into the reality that it wasn't okay. Right. And that what happened was not okay.
Right. So you're still in the... Right?
Yes.
You are, okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I think...
Oh, I was asking if you are still in the marriage?
Yes, I am.
Okay, because I would imagine that makes it even more difficult to grieve something that you're still very much in.
It is, because even though as I've grown, I've started standing up more for myself, but even the smallest things tend to trigger the grief from the past, that or memories from the past that bring up a lot of grief.
Right.
Even the behavior is not the same, but it does trigger what used to be. And with that, then there is generally a lot of outpouring of grief from that. Again, it's a very complicated thing to unwrap because you sort of get confused in all of the emotions.
Yeah.
There's anger, there's grief, and at the same time, you're trying to keep the grief from really stopping you from going forward, from paralyzing you.
Right, right. Are they, my assumption, you haven't given any specifics, is it more physical abuse or is it more emotional abuse?
It's emotional abuse, and that is the other thing about it. With physical abuse, you can see the scars, you can show the scars.
Right.
But with emotional abuse, you can't show anything.
You can't see them, yeah.
I have no solid proof of it. What it is more he says, she says. But you know that those scars exist.
Right, right.
Because it hurts really bad when you have to come face to face with them.
And, back to, whether staying and going, may I ask why you're still in it?
Well, I have 2 kids. And I want to bring myself to a position where I can take care of them solidly.
I see. That's what you're working on. Okay.
That is what I'm working on. Otherwise, and again, I wish I had come to this place much sooner. So I wouldn't have 2 children involved, that I wouldn't have to put them through this. They don't understand the whole picture. And they probably never will. But they are here, and I have to be able to take care of them.
Yeah. Is the emotional abuse also affecting your kids in terms of, is he also abusing them emotionally?
Well, not to the same extent as he would with me or his mother. But there's a lot of emotional manipulation that does get involved when it comes to children, because unfortunately that's how he functions.
And he
It's
abuses
very
his own
a
mother as
very
well?
yes, that is this, I think, the biggest tragedy of it, this all. I mean, because yes, as a parent you make a lot of mistakes. No parent is perfect, but you do try your very best in whatever situation you are. She's an old woman. At this age, it's not something that she should go through.
Right, right. Oh my gosh. Again, this is something that's very personal. And I want to thank you again.
Again, it's a very tricky situation, but if there is somebody out there who can benefit from this and understand, I'm sorry, that's one of my children.
That's okay.
But if anybody can understand that being in a relationship should not be a source of grief, that is a default. Being in any relationship, it's not just about being in a marriage, parent-child relationship, spousal relationship, any relationship that anybody can think of, it should never be a source of grief.
Right, right.
There are times when things go up and down. That's different. But it's this consistent source of hurt, pain, and grief is not normal. Ever.
Right, right. Was there ever a time when the relationship was good?
No. And I think that should have been my first red flag. But again, I didn't know better because I had no real good examples of any of this.
Yeah.
I had seen many relationships that existed in the same way, in this sort of neutral bad, if I had to put any word to this, that these were neutral bad relationships. And but there was never a time when it was ever good. Ever.
Wow. And how old were you when you got married?
I was 25.
25. Okay. Okay. So what would happen to you in terms of your family and even maybe your religious background if you get a divorce?
Nothing in particular that I can say. My family knows. Okay. My side of the family knows, and they're very supportive of this, because even though like we existed with this in our family, they don't want this for me, and they understand my decision. And in terms of, again, a lot of times people don't. Even a lot of Muslim people don't realize is that this is not what is forbidden for us. It is very much allowed and accepted. And what the negativity sort of comes culturally as opposed to any religious restrictions. So yeah, people do have a tendency of, talking behind your back or the whispers, but I think that that's more universal than any specific faith, because if there are people, they don't understand the entire situation, they have a tendency to talk. I mean, I can't do anything about that. And I have zero interest in dealing with any of it. Right now, my only priority are my children.
Yeah. So what would you say if I were in your shoes? What would you say to me if I'm telling you what you're telling me right now? What would be the advice you would give me? Or maybe I don't have kids yet. I'm about to get married to a guy who is like the guy you're married to.
I would say run far away. And because it's a kind of horror you never want anybody to go through, where you doubt every protective instinct that you have in you just because of the way you were treated. It's a special kind of nightmare to exist in. And I don't want that for anybody. Wow. I want whoever it is to go into a marriage to be secure and to find someone who can really love and respect them for who they are, not who they want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Every individual deserves that kind of love and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is somebody out there who cannot give it to you, then you run far away. You don't look back ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
So
if there's
thank you.
anybody in that kind of relationship, then get help as quickly as you can,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not okay.
And I'm assuming you're getting help as well.
Yes,
Okay.
most
Okay. Yeah. Wow. My heart just goes out to you for that. And so proud of you too for sharing that. Because, yeah, that's just, it's even more sad for me to hear that he's like that with his own mother. So, and what a bad example
there
for the
are.
kids.
It is, because for us in faith, there are some sacred relationships. Mother and child is one of them. And when he cannot respect it as sacred, that is a real, like a huge, I mean, it's almost blasphemous.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think that would be my other piece of advice. If you are like thinking about getting in a relationship with anybody, and if that person cannot treat the people they're supposed to love with goodness and kindness, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true, especially when you can't even treat your own mother, the one who birthed you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how do you protect your kids from not falling into that same?
You have to fight very hard. You do. And I have to fight hard to tell them, to show them that this behavior is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of flack for it. I get a lot of grief for it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I can't even guarantee that they won't pick up some of these things from him. I can't, but I will try whatever it takes. I
Mm-hmm.
can't have two more monsters running around in this world. I
Yeah.
can't, especially the ones I gave birth to.
Yeah. How easy with other people, like in the workplace or friends? Easy.
It's a Jekyll and Hyde personality. Unless he's backed into a corner, he'll just be neutral. So nobody really suspects, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's the treachery of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am just trying to keep people from making the same mistakes that I did,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not a cycle that breaks itself. It has to be forcefully broken in the most difficult way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know so many women, so many would not believe, women who are my heart and soul because they helped me through this.
Mm-hmm.
But they suffer from the same grief, a grief that is so painful, and yet nobody can really see it. So if I can help with that, to
Mm-hmm.
make people see that this is not okay.
Right.
If somebody is in that situation, that entire situation is not okay.
Right.
And it is very difficult to get out of, because all you're doing is doubting yourself, because that is what you have been conditioned after so long, that you are not worth anything, that your opinion is not worth anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does one get to that point? I mean, was he raised by a father who did that to him also and to his mother? How does, I
It
mean, I,
it it comes from, and again, it comes from a lot of different things. There's a lot of toxic masculinity that comes into this as well. That the only way men feel powerful is that when you degrade a woman.
Right.
And it's, again, this is not specific to any one culture. It can be terribly universal. Unfortunately, I've seen that. And when you see no other example, that is the example you then keep following, because it's an easy example to follow.
Right.
It's very convenient when you are the one in power. Instead of relinquishing that power, if you choose to abuse it, it's very easy.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I really hope that, you get to whatever that point that gives you the financial freedom where you can get out and start your life.
I will.
Yeah.
Because I have set that path out for myself now, and there's nothing that's going to take me off that path.
Do you have a timeline?
I do. Okay. And I have set that timeline come hell or high wind, because it's not just about me anymore.
I hope it's very soon.
It will be.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that is the only thing I'm working towards now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you so much, Kanu.
Thank you so much for listening, and all the way to the end. I am genuinely so grateful. So now you can continue to show your support in a few different ways. The first one is, if you can think of someone who might benefit from this episode, please send it to them. And the second thing is, we all are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and the like. So please share this episode. And I love it when people tag me to their post. And 3, head over to iTunes. You can leave a review and you can rate this episode. All your feedback is very helpful, and it helps this podcast get visible so others can listen to all these great stories. Thank you so much. Till next time.